Is it a stroke? Is it Bell's palsy? We also have been speculating about cardiovascular and/or liver and/or kidney disease. Donald Trump's deteriorating before our eyes. I'm not trying to make light of it, but yesterday during that 9/11 ceremony, his entire face was like drooping down. He didn't seem to know where he was. And I've seen some medical experts speculating Bell's palsy, which should obviously be less serious than stroke. Others saying mini strokes. And others have suggested that he's had a history of having mini strokes before, although that would be sheer speculation and opinions, but we can visualize this with our eyes. I looked into Bell's palsy. Some viral triggers include the herpes simplex virus or other viruses like those causing chickenpox, shingles, and other things like that can potentially trigger Bell's palsy. And then, if it's a stroke, it has serious ramifications. What was notable also during Donald Trump's hate-filled Oval Office speech following the assassination of Charlie Kirk, where Donald Trump said, blame liberals, blame Democrats, they're terrorists, eradicate them, even though the suspect is still at large, even though Donald Trump's FBI has so botched and mismanaged the investigation. They've gotten the suspect wrong multiple times already. And then they put out that there was transgender and anti-fascist ideology etched into the cartridges found in connection with the weapon. And then the Wall Street Journal ran with that story. And then they had to retract it. It's an utterly ridiculous falsehood. And meanwhile, the shooter remains on the loose. The killer remains on the loose. But in any event, when you analyze the footage from Donald Trump's hate-filled Oval Office speech, the way the camera was kind of cut, they use something called a morph cut on Adobe Premiere, it looks like, where they layer in another kind of cut over another cut, but it looks like they were layering in to cover his hands that he was covering up because his hands are decomposing. I've described his hands as akin to if you put your hands into like a piranha tank. I mean, it looks gnawed at and purplish, and he always tries to hide it. And you can see right there with that still frame what is taking place. It's not just Donald Trump's physical appearance that's deteriorating, though. It's our country. It's our economy. The American people seem to get it. The poll that just came out from YouGov, who is more responsible for the current state of the economy? 57% of Americans blame Donald Trump. Only 22% of Americans blame Joe Biden, and 7% say neither. It's an interesting data point because Trump usually still maintains about 34 to 35% of support, even as he plummets. As he said, he can shoot somebody from Fifth Avenue, his language, and his core supporters really wouldn't care. He can basically say, that's not my signature on the Epstein birthday card, and it's clearly his signature. And then his supporters will be like, oh my God, what a fabrication. 22 years ago, somebody, I'm not sure why I'm doing a Mickey Mouse voice, but 22 years ago, somebody snuck into the Epstein birthday book when Donald Trump was a Democrat. And before Donald Trump ever said he was going to run for president, they snuck into the birthday book a card from Donald Trump talking about, enigmas and secrets will never age, in a birthday book that included all these other friends of Jeffrey Epstein at the time, only for it to surface 22 years later. The deep state knew. It's like, what are we even talking about here? But the fact that only 22% blame Biden instead of that 34% number, I view that as a significant thing, but it's accurate. I mean, it should be 100% blame Donald Trump. He's in charge. And he promised on day one that he would bring inflation down. He said, this is the Trump economy, no inflation, golden age, things are great, right? That's what they said. But again, yesterday we got the new inflation data, came in hot, bad hot, wanted inflation to come in hot. Headline inflation, 2.9% year over year. Core inflation, 3.1% year over year. That means it's 3.1% higher than it was last year. And when you go into some of the crosstabs of where inflation's surging, coffee prices year over year, 21% higher, audio equipment, 12% higher, living and dining room furniture, 10% higher, jewelry, 6% higher, tools, 6% higher. Also, jobless claims last week, we're talking about 263,000. That's the highest in almost 4 years. That's kind of a pattern what we're hearing. The worst in 4 years. Who was in office then? Donald Trump during the height of COVID. The worst since the Great Recession. The worst since 1970 stagflation. That's what Donald Trump is doing to our economy. Everything with him is a cover up too, right? He says he brought in $17 trillion. This as the deficit is set to hit, close to $2 trillion added to the deficit this year alone, more than the previous year. Well, if you brought in $17 trillion, Donald, wouldn't we have a $15 trillion surplus this year? $17 trillion? Well, if we have $17 trillion, why'd you have to raise the debt ceiling by $5 trillion? You're making up the numbers and the most egregious numbers, saying $17 trillion and bring in anything. Zero is the answer. That's why we are spending more than we are taking in on a monthly basis by about $300 billion or so. That's why when you add them up in the aggregate, the deficit on a year over year is like $2 trillion, and you are making it absolutely worse. So you're covering up all of these things. You're covering up your physical deterioration, although we can see it. You're covering up the economy, although we can feel it. You're covering up the Epstein files, although we know what you did. We know that's your signature, Donald. We know what's going on. Just listen to this Arkansas farmer explain how Trump's trade policy has led to a disaster in his life. Play this clip.
Well, we've got a real disaster with this tariff deal. I mean, we produce 40% more agricultural products in this country than we can consume domestically. 1 in every 4 rows of soybeans in every field in the entire United States of America has to go abroad. China is the largest importer of soybeans in the world. They import 61% of the world's market. Last year, we sent around $12 billion, I think $14 billion worth of soybeans the year before. For the first time in 20 years, China's bought 0 soybeans and 0 new crop corn out of this country.
0?
So we went from 12 billion to 0.
Where are they buying the soybeans?
Brazil. You see, we lost 42% of our market share in the first tariff war. In Trump's first tariff war, the Chinese went to buying their soybeans from Brazil. They invested billions of dollars in Brazilian infrastructure. They have moved into Africa, and they're going to commercially farm in Africa. Since we left with USAID, they moved their Belt and Road program into Africa. So we've pretty much lost the Chinese market share. If we got 100% of the soybean business, Katie, for every country in the world except for Brazil and Argentina, we would still only have half the soybean business that China.
And by the way, listen to what they were saying on Fox. The American dream is looking more like a nightmare for some working families. New research finding lifetime costs of hitting the traditional milestones like home ownership, retirement, college, healthcare totals a staggering $5 million. Just watch right here what they're saying on Fox. This is coming from Fox. Let's play this clip.
American dream is looking more like a nightmare for some working families. New research finding that the lifetime cost of hitting the traditional milestones, things like home ownership, retirement, kids' college, healthcare, weddings, cars, vacations, etc., it now totals a staggering $5 million. And here's the kicker. Americans haven't gotten any richer over the last 5 years. Wages flat, savings weak, costs through the roof. Kenny, when I just have conversations with real people about how they're feeling, they don't focus on the inflation rate or the data or a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the technical aspect of the markets here.
Right.
What they tell me is this: you've seen prices go up, this rate of inflation, okay, that's come down, but the prices never came down.
Right.
And I didn't make more money. And so the value of my dollar, essentially deflated. A lot of people, stock market investing has become more ubiquitous with Robinhood and all of these things. And during the pandemic, because people felt like they were chasing the inflation rate. If you just left your money sitting in a savings account or a CD, you're getting completely crushed.
Completely crushed.
So all that money pours into the stock market. The stock market keeps going up, but people aren't necessarily getting richer because of how much more everything costs.
Right. Right. I mean, they might be seeing...
And they're taking risk.
Correct. They're taking risk. Probably some of them are taking more risk than they should. But they're trying to play catch up, right? Because the money that they're saving, they're trying to put to work to them. But to your point, the everyday costs remain elevated. Prices, while they've stopped going up at the rate that they were going, have remained elevated.
Now, while all of that is going down, you have Donald Trump, again, face droopy, can't understand the questions that are being asked. Like Donald Trump was asked at first, any reaction, Don? This is when he landed back in Washington, D.C. yesterday. Hey, Donald, any reaction to Russian drones striking Poland, a NATO country, meaning Article 4 has been triggered already, and we may need Article 5? Donald Trump's like, I can't understand. I can't understand. Here, play this clip.
Any reaction on the Russian drones in Poland?
Can't understand.
And then when he finally does understand, he goes, oh, it was probably a mistake. Russia probably just made a mistake. That's called the epitome of weakness. Play this clip.
What's your reaction to Russian drone incursion into Poland?
Could have been a mistake. But regardless, I'm not happy about anything having to do with that whole situation. But hopefully it's going to come to an end.
Now, Poland's foreign minister, Sikorski, says no, that wasn't a mistake. Yet Donald Trump continues to say that. By the way, Donald Trump continues to claim that he resolved all the wars in Congo, that he's responsible for the peace in Congo, except there are dozens and dozens of people dying every day in the Congo right now at the hands of ISIS. So Donald, you said you've made perfect peace. What's your answer? What's your response to ISIS continuing to kill people in the Congo? Oh, it's a very violent place, very violent place. Here, let's play it.
This week, Mr. President, I witnessed more than 60 people in DRC Congo were killed. There is people affiliated with ISIS. Terrorist groups are taking advantage because of the situation going on because of the war. So what is your word for Congolese people?
Well, we're going to be talking to them. As you know, we are talking to them. It's a very violent place. It's very, very violent. For a long time, it's been going on for 30 years, 35 years even, they say. But we're going to handle it. Thank you.
Now, I'm going to do a whole other video on this. So watch in about 90 minutes when I post it on the YouTube channel. As I mentioned, the FBI has totally botched and mismanaged the investigation into the individual who killed Charlie Kirk. They got the suspects wrong twice. They had to issue a retraction. Then Kash Patel said, and then they put out the statement that it was transgender and anti-fascist ideology on the cartridges with the weapon. And then they had to retract that. And then they just admitted last night, we have no clue who the person is. Can you help us, public? If you know, just give us a call. But they have no clue who the person is who killed. They don't have a name. They don't have a suspect ready. They have nothing, at least as of this recording. That could, of course, change. But they were so focused on attacking leftists and liberals versus doing the work of the FBI. They were so focused on social media clicks and spreading disinformation that they weren't doing law enforcement work. Now, just look at Kash Patel, a deer in headlights last night, like completely lost. You're the director of the FBI. How the hell you are is beyond me, other than we have an incompetent, sexual abusing, loser, felon, bankrupter, fraud in the Oval Office who needs to surround himself with dummies, with stupid people. This is Kash Patel. Play it.
Sorry about that.
There you have it. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.